Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. Today we're making the ultimate roast potato, the ultimate rosemary garlic roast potato, and I think you're gonna absolutely love it. It's gonna be fantastic on your holiday table or just on your table at any time during the season or any season, but I think it's like the perfect spud. You know me, if you follow me on Instagram, you know if I were a vegetable, I'd be a spud. Because it's delicious. You can do so much with it, and everyone loves the potatoes. So let me show you what I've got working here, because we're gonna start with our potatoes. I like using russet potato, right? It's just because it's my favorite potato. You can really use any potato that you'd like. I'm not real picky in terms of, if you want to use a Yukon Gold, you can use a Yukon Gold. If you want to use red skin potato, use a red skin potato. If you want to use an Idaho potato, whatever your heart desires, use a spud that floats your boat. Like I said, I just happen to like a russet potato. So I'm going to peel all of these and then I'm going to cut them. But I want to show you how I cut it because this is really important, right? We talked about this when I made my Greek roast potatoes, right? I like a lot of surface because lots of surface means lots of crispiness. So I just cut them into kind of irregular pieces like so, because now you've got potential for this side to be crispy and that side to be crispy. If I were to just cut it like this, that's a little crisp. That's just a little bit of crisp. I want a lot. So I cut them in these really irregular pieces that I feel like, and I am going to cut these in half because I don't want them that big, but now look at this, right? Lots of surface, lots of possibility for crispiness. Plus, nobody wants a perfectly shaped potato. I mean, come on. Nobody wants that kind of food. You know what I mean? The more rustic, the better. So they should look a little something like this when you cut them. But by all means, cut them anywhere that you like. But surface, big flavor. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to peel and chop up all of my potatoes, and then we'll put them in cold water, which I'll show you when we get there. Potatoes are clean. They are going to go into a pot, with cold water. You never want to add potatoes to hot water. Listen, I say never, but you do what you want because that's what you should be doing. But typically you don't want to add potatoes to hot water because what happens is it just won't cook evenly. So you want to always bring it to temperature with the water. So once this comes to a rolling boil, I'm going to add a good amount of salt because this is really your only chance to season the inside of the potato, which is really important. So while that happens, and once it comes to a boil, you're going to cook them for about 3 minutes or so. You don't need to cook them any longer because what happens is the more you cook the potato, the more water it's going to absorb. The more water it absorbs, the less crispiness you're going to get in the oven. We don't want that. So get that going. My oven's preheated to 450. Now let's talk oil. Listen, we're all used to adding some rosemary and some garlic to a sheet pan with potatoes and olive oil, calling it a day. I've done that, do that a lot. But the problem with that is you never really get a full, beautiful hit of rosemary and garlic, right? You kind of get crispy bits of rosemary and garlic, but the potato never tastes like rosemary and garlic. So what do? We infuse the oil that coats the potato with rosemary and garlic, giving it a chance to taste like rosemary and garlic. So I don't even peel my garlic. You don't really have to. As long as you smash it up because you want it to have, you can peel it if you want to, but it really isn't necessary. It will release lots of beautiful flavor into the oil and giving you the rosemary garlic potato of dreams. Now you're going to add some oil. I'm probably going to add more than I need, but that looks about right to me. You want to make sure you never skimp on oil when it comes to your potatoes because that's what makes them really delicious and really crisp. While the potatoes are cooking, I am going to go ahead and bring this to temperature over low heat. I don't want to burn anything because I really want to give the garlic and rosemary a chance to infuse into the oil. So on low heat, let it simmer, let it sizzle away until you really can smell the rosemary and the garlic. I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. It'll take no longer than like 10 minutes, which is probably going to be the perfect time for this water to come to a boil. Let them cook a few minutes, then you drain them, then I meet you back here. potatoes done. They drain. I drained them off really, really well. I've got my rosemary garlic oil here, perfect, ready to go. So once you drain your potatoes, you want to drain them really, really well. I can't even see you. And then what I do is I just kind of do one of these a couple times, and that just kind of roughs up the edges. You can see a little bit. I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell. It just roughs up the edges, and that just gives you more crispiness, because I don't know if you've realized it by now, I'm kind of addicted to the whole crispy factor of roast potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and add my infused oil. I don't add the garlic from this just because I don't want it to get any darker, just because it's going to go into a really hot oven and I don't want to end up with burnt garlic. But don't worry, we will add more garlic. And please do not fear adding oil to your roast potatoes, because that's how you get the best roast potatoes, okay? You're going to add more salt, because now it's your chance to season the outside. Pepper. I add fresh rosemary because it's nice. And then we'll just add a little something special. Then, whole thing of garlic. Cut them in half. I'm going to mix this around, make sure. Put that in there like that. Put that in there like that. Let that cook up all together. And now take your time, because I think it's worth it, to make sure your potatoes, most of them anyway, are the main section, the main side that's got a lot of surface area. It's just you face it down. That's all. Because again, you want crispy goodness, and you may not have the space to do it all, to do all of them, but try your best to get as many of them face down as possible. The oven's hot. It is at 450 degrees. We're going to put them in. We're going to let them get golden brown, delicious and crusty. I'll show you what they look like when they're done, but trust you me, these are going to be so beautiful, so delicious. The best rosemary potatoes ever. Look at these. I mean, just please. I hope you can hear it. Can you hear how, like, that is just phenomenal. I love these. You can, if you want to, halfway through come in and flip them out, but I don't really think you need to, because obviously, as you can see, you get a really beautiful crust. But if you want to, you can flip them halfway through so that you can get that crispiness on both sides. But then I feel like if you did that, you wouldn't have enough fluff. You know what I mean? And the fluff is really important in a roast potato. And now look at this. Don't you dare tell me it's burnt, because look at this. It's like candy, and you can spread that on bread. I mean, it's the roasted spud of dreams. You don't want to do rosemary and garlic, you can do any flavor your heart desires. You could do sage, you could do thyme, you can infuse it with onion and thyme and sage and rosemary for like lots of herbs. You could do a little bit of lemon zest. You could do just dry spices. Just make sure that you cook them first. I mean, this is just, it's honestly insane. I want you to hear the crunch. Ha. Wow. You absolutely taste the rosemary and garlic. Phenomenal on every level. Worthy of being on your table tonight, holiday, whatever you're cooking. They're the best roast potatoes ever. LauraInTheKitchen.com for the written recipe. Hope you enjoy spending time with me. If you were a vegetable, what would you be? I'd be a spud, like I said. I'll see you next time. Bye.